If teenage athletes want to take a big step forward in development, it would be wise to make an effort to outsleep and out-eat their peers. These two things are powerful magnifiers of everything they do in skill development and strength and conditioning.
Welcome to the Coaching Life. My name's Pat Martin. Joining again here with my buddy, Coach Chris Stewart. Coach, how you doing on this fine Sunday evening, my friend?
I'm doing well. Good evening, Pat.
Good evening. Should I have not given away the fact that it's Sunday evening?
That's all right.
We're a little late recording this week's podcast, but we're like Manny Ramirez, a little late, but always on time.
That's right.
Coach, we talk a lot about aspirations of being better people, and specifically for this podcast, we talk a lot about being better athletes and rising to higher levels and making it to the next level. If you're as a high school athlete making the college level, or even a college athlete making it to the pro level, and we talk about a lot of different concepts that are involved in that. And one of the big things that we talk about is strength training, right? And it's kind of this, it's something that a lot of people out there are starting to really embrace. I've noticed that, and that's a good thing because it's very important. And it's kind of it's kind of a little different because traditionally it's not something, especially for a baseball player or maybe even a softball player, it's not something that you think about that you need to do to improve your chances of getting better or, accomplishing some of the goals that they have. But there's something else out there that isn't talked about enough. And, we say you have to be committed, you have to be dedicated to some things that are unordinary and maybe in an extraordinary way to develop into, the type of athlete that you want to be, the level of athlete you want to be. And one of the things that people don't really focus about a lot is nutrition.
Amen.
So we're going to talk about, if it's okay with you.
It's absolutely okay with me. Yeah. I should say up front, we should put a disclaimer out there as well. I was guilty of this as an athlete, because I think we're gonna find that today's podcast is going to be focused and targeted to, I would say, the younger athlete, right? The high school athlete, or even younger than that. Really, I mean, your kids, you need to hear this. They need to think about this right now. Because kids don't think about it.
Coach.
Well, and I would say that I would say in that aspect, it's parents need to think about this because they're the ones that are making the choices for what their kids are eating. Really, to be honest, until they get to high school and then kids are able to drive, and then they on their way home from strength training they'll drive through McDonald's and do all that stuff on their own, and then maybe when they get home they will go ahead and have a meal that mom and dad made them, or maybe they'll make their own meals. I don't know, but the reality is, I tend to think. And we're gonna call my son Brock here in just a minute and have him on the show tonight, because tonight, this morning, whenever you're listening, because I know for a fact that this is an area that he has really embraced recently in his life. Now, he just turned 22 years old. Okay, so he went through his high school years working very hard in the weight room, working very hard with skills development. And I would say there were moments, I'll have to ask him to see if he agrees, but there were moments where he also took his nutrition pretty seriously, because there was about a full year there where he made all of his meals on Sunday night, put them in containers in the fridge, and that's what he ate throughout the week. And he was pretty dedicated to it there for a while. So I don't want to say that he overlooked it, but I'm guessing he was going to say that he could have done better. And so we'll just find out what he says there. But I know this: I could have done better. And my story was different than his. We have different bodies. When I look at high school athletes today, I see, you almost see three different kinds of bodies. Okay, this is between our young men and young women who are working out in the weight room or working to be an athlete in whatever sport. You got the skinny kid who is pretty athletic. He's what you would call wiry, right? He's about 130, 135 pounds, and this kid eats whatever, and it doesn't seem to bother him. You know,
that was me. Yeah.
And honestly, that was me as well. I could not gain weight if I tried when I was in high school. And I wasn't tall, but I was lanky. So I was short and lanky. I was 5'10", and I was about 130 pounds, 135 pounds. And until my senior year, and I gained about 30 pounds between my junior year and senior year, being intentional about it. And I can talk about that later. But here's the problem with that skinny kid is you can be pretty athletic and eat Little Debbie snack cakes and potato chips and drink pop and then go do your stuff, you know, go to your practices and go to your workouts, and you don't stop to think about how much different your experience as an athlete could be if you took that part a little more seriously. So you
have no frame of reference.
You don't. So that's the skinny kid. I'd say you also have what you'd consider to be the stocky kid, you know, the little bit bigger kid who is, to be in all honesty, overweight for his age, size, you know, height and things like and all of that. But it could be used a little bit to his advantage because based on his body type, if he does lift a little bit of weights, he can get stronger a little faster than the skinny kid can, which means he hits the ball a little further. He gets on the football field because he can move people out of the way. You know, he can block well and things like that. And so there are some advantages to that. And one of the things that I see happen with some of the larger kids is they don't think about what they're eating either because sometimes it becomes a joke, right? Look at these guys. These kids are beefy, man. Look at, you know, these guys are thumpers. They're beefy, and they just kind of joke. Well, yeah, you know. And so I got to kind of keep that persona, right? So what do? Well, I just keep eating more and more and more, and so there's and they don't realize that. Well, you know, if you actually did pay a little more attention to this, and you lean down a little bit, not saying that you have to lose all that, but let's turn some of that softness into some hard muscle and see how much difference it makes in your athletic experience. And I think that's another aspect of a kid. But I also think there's a third kid, and that is some kids are just naturally strong, athletic. I mean, they're blessed with a body that when you look at them, you would assume that they lift a little bit. But they might look at you and say, I've never lifted a weight in my life. And you're surprised. You don't have as many of these kids, but there are some, and they come through. About every class has one or two. And they don't necessarily pay close attention to their nutrition either, but I wonder if they did.
What they'd be.
Oh, my goodness, what would they be, right? And so I think a lot of our high school athletes and junior high athletes are made up of those three kids. And you know, I should also include a fourth one, to be honest, because there might also be a whole other category of kid that really does pay attention to this, that really does take this seriously. And it's a good way to put it, a whole other category, because those guys are in a whole other category, and they don't come around every year. In fact, they're once in a lifetime for many school districts.
Would you say they're relentless?
They are absolutely relentless. They're your cleaner. They're the ones with the it factor. I mean, it is. I mean, it's a kid who just says, you know what, I'm going to be looked upon as weird because I don't eat the things that other people do and drink the things that other people do, but they don't fit my goals.
Yeah. And you know, go ahead.
Yeah, that you don't have very many of those, but there's no reason why we can't have more of those.
And, you know, especially in Southeastern Ohio, where, you know, we've talked about this a lot, that, you know, kids are looking for the resources, or they feel like they're, you know, they lack opportunity. And they ask the question, what can I do to give myself the best chance? Mm-hmm. Here's something that you can do to help give yourself a better chance.
Yes.
And it's tough, and no one's denying that. No one's saying it's easy to change, you know, your eating style, to change, and there's more than, you know, to nutrition than really just what goes in your body, or I'd say overall, you know, health, physical health. We might get into that too, but here is easy, but you have to approach it the same way you do, your skills practice, the same way you do your strength training, the same way you do your conditioning. It's just another challenge, maybe a little bit more mental than physical, a little bit, but it's still just another challenge that, the key word, you have to approach with that relentless mindset.
Boy, that's a good point. It is so much mental, and we just had a whole episode about the mental aspect of things and what it takes to get over some of these humps, and it is. I mean, it becomes a physical thing, but it starts as a mental thing. It does.
Definitely. Yep.
I read a tweet. I'll quote this tweet here by Eric Cressy from Cressy Performance, and it's actually something he tweeted a long time ago, about a year ago. And but I'm always looking for things, to try to help teenage athletes, because I train teenage athletes right now and young, kids who are 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. Eric Cressy said this: if teenage athletes want to take a big step forward in development, it would be wise to make an effort to outsleep and outeat their peers. So do both. Outsleep and out-eat their peers. Well, there's a whole other topic, right? Sleep. He says these two things are powerful magnifiers of everything they do in skill development and strength and conditioning. And I love the way I love that word picture, magnifiers, because what that means is how I'm sleeping and how I'm eating and drinking is going to be magnified in my development of skill and in my strength and conditioning development. And it's just the truth. It's absolutely truth.
It's good stuff. And I would say you might get a lot of rolling eyes, when the title of the podcast, Nutrition, hits the airwaves.
Yeah, maybe we'll title it something different.
We'll put a different label on it, like Joe Burrow. We'll call it Joe Burrow
again. Right. Well, he's one of those outliers, man. He's one of those other category guys. Yeah. He
is. He wasn't afraid to do the unordinary, right?
Yeah.
And look where he is now. And there's no problem. I'm not saying if you eat less Little Debbie cakes that you're going to make it to the pros. But if you want to improve, it's really an easy or a surefire. We'll call it a surefire way to improve. And some people may not believe it. And my challenge to them would be, well, if you don't believe it, try it. Try to eat as healthy as you can. Cut out sugar. Cut out sugar for 6 months. Cut out sugar for 6 months. I guarantee you're going to feel better. But here's the big: cut out sugar for 6 months, and then eat a piece of cake, and feel how crappy you feel.
That's the truth. Yeah,
I've noticed that.
And you know what? I'll even say this. Cut out sugar for 6 months, and then let's say your birthday is in 6 months, and you eat a piece of birthday cake. Okay, nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, as long as you go back to cutting out sugar after that day. The problem is our habits. Our daily habits are. See, that's what nutrition is. It's what you do all the time. If you have a cake every now and then, once every 3 or 4 months, you're not going to have a Thanksgiving meal every weekend. But when Thanksgiving rolls around once a year, enjoy Thanksgiving, right? But the problem is we do that all the time, right? We do that. We buy 2 liters of pop on our way home every day, things like that. And I mean, it's a problem. I'm going to call Brock. I want to call him out. Just call him out of the blue. Yeah, tell him what we're talking about, and just get his fresh thoughts. All right. So here we go.
By the way, before he gets on the line, he roped a 3-run double in his
he did
game the other night at Alderson Broadus. So
he did.
I got to see that firsthand.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Hello.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So Pat and I, we're recording right now, and I told you I was going to call you, but I want to tell you what we're talking about, and I just want to get your reaction to this, because this is what tonight's topic's about. That's going to be out in everyone's podcast feed tomorrow morning, and that's this. We had an idea to talk to young athletes directly, teenage athletes, so high schoolers and even younger than that, about nutrition perhaps being one of the most overlooked aspects of their development as they're becoming the kind of athlete they want to be. And so, everybody has different goals. And a lot of kids, when we talk to them, say they've got goals. They want to, for example, play ball in college, or they just, everybody has big goals if they enjoy playing the game of baseball or football or basketball, whatever it is they play. And some of them work really hard. They get special training. They get instructors to help them with their pitching or hitting, and they practice hard. They work hard in the weight room. But you and I both know, I'm talking to you, Brock, you and I both know that sometimes we forget the value of what we ingest in food and in drink, and how that is either fueling our bodies for what we want to have happen, or really negating a lot of the stuff that we're doing. So I'm going to read a tweet to you that I just read just a minute ago to Pat, and then I'm going to let you respond to that. You tell me. I think the question I would ask you is where you're at right now. You just turned 22 a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you would do differently if you were back in high school today in regards to nutrition? Because Eric Cressy says, if teenage athletes want to take a big step forward in their development, it would be wise to make an effort to outsleep and out-eat their peers, because these two things are powerful magnifiers of everything they do in skill development and strength and conditioning.
Yeah, he's 100% right. It's good. It's great that he mentioned sleep, because that's the biggest thing that I think is overlooked. Especially me personally, I struggled with getting sleep, and especially getting on a schedule. That's one of the most important things, is actually getting on a sleep schedule, not only just getting sleep. But yeah, if I was back in high school, I would definitely try to get more educated about nutrition, because I didn't know a lot. I didn't know what was going into my body. I didn't know the importance of what was going into my body, and knowing what was going in my body. And once I realized that, I started to think about every time I was either taking a bite or drinking, anything. It was, what purpose is this doing for my body? How is this going to affect me today, tomorrow? And am I eating this or drinking this for my pleasure, or am I eating this to help my performance or recovery? And that was the big thing that is hard to get across to people.
Yeah.
And to understand. And you mentioned the drinking as well. That's the other things. That would be the second thing if I was back in high school. I would put a lot less sugar in my coffee. I'd drink a lot less sweet tea. Because you don't realize how many calories you get through just drinking. It's a lot easier to drink than it is to eat, and you don't realize how much sugar is in some of these things that are common drinks.
Right. You had a year there in high school where you had an idea that you needed to do better with this, because I think it was it your junior year or senior year where you would buy all your food on Sunday afternoon, and you'd cook a week's worth of meals, put it in containers, and put it in the fridge, and that's pretty much what you ate for both breakfast and lunch, maybe dinner too. I don't remember, but what was happening in your mindset right there? Because it's not like you completely overlooked this. But so you had a moment there where I think you realized, okay, I got to do some things better.
Yeah, for sure. It's overlooked. Nutrition is overlooked in the weight room and on the baseball field or whatever your playing field is. You talk about the importance of it, but I wasn't seeing the results I wanted. Because I wasn't working as hard on my nutrition as I was on the playing field or in the weight room. And it wasn't until I started doing those things, like you said, and just And the meal prepping just, that just made it easier. And obviously that's something I would suggest if you have the ability to do that, just makes it a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
So Brock, you were a high school athlete and you made the conscious decision to improve your nutrition. And there might be high school athletes out there listening and just thinking, I have no idea where to start with that decision. It sounds like something I want to do, but I don't know where to start. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, that's really one of the sad and tough things is that one of the most important parts of living is knowing about that health aspect. And that's not something you get taught in schools or even in, your coaches don't really talk about that.
Wow, that's a good
whatever
point.
your extracurricular activity is, you're never talking about nutrition. In high school, you might have to take one class, talking about health, and you might have in that one health class, you might have one chapter that talks about that, depending on where you're at. And that's the really, really tough thing. Personally, I kind of took it upon myself to try to find the foods that helped me eat. But that's the ability I had once I was in high school and able to do that for myself. Reaching out to, you said your parents aren't, maybe your older siblings or whatever your case is, aren't a good example of an eater, I guess you would say. I guess reach out to, your coach or somebody in your school, because really it's something that's not taught a lot and there's not a ton of information about, and it's sad that I can't really answer that question with a firm answer.
Well, it's also it's something also that you have to do on your own, because a coach can talk about it, and you're right. You're absolutely right. Coaches don't make this part of the practice plan nearly enough, or the game plan, the year-long plan, whatever it is, the vision of the program nearly enough. And some coaches may mention it, hey, make sure you're eating well, things like that. But we've got to be more intentional as coaches, and that's something that Pat and I could talk about as we're talking directly to coaches. But even if coaches did, it's not like the coach is going to be there for every meal. And so it's something that is really going to have to be part of the high school, because even now a lot of teams are strength training their kids. And so it's like there's accountability there. You're doing that as a group. You're practicing as a group. You're developing skills as a group. But nutrition, you're pretty much on your own.
For sure.
Yeah. One of the things I'd like to hear is we won't keep you on forever, but you really have transformed your body in the last, I'd say, 2 years. And it's one thing I'm really proud of you for doing. And I know that you've not only is it something that's come because of your maturity, and you just realizing, that it's important, but it's something that I know that you see as part of, your everyday life moving forward. I mean, you're studying exercise physiology, for crying out loud, which means you're going to be training other people to be the best they can be physically, spiritually, emotionally, and all that as well. And what did it for you? Like what have you done to make that change?
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the field of study I'm going into, because honestly, I looked into the mirror and realized, like, who's going to take fitness advice from this 200-pound fat guy who doesn't know, doesn't look like he knows what he's talking about. First off, but really it was like you talked about the health part of it. It helps on the baseball field and it helps in the weight room, but just feeling better in general, and knowing that what I was doing was helping my body overall, not just to help with my sport. And what really helped with that was, viewing my food and what I was intaking as fuel instead of, I'm eating this because it tastes good.
Yeah.
No, I was eating food because it was good for me and it's what I needed, instead of, it just tastes amazing.
I know you and I,
great point.
Yeah. You and I talked about this a little bit the last time you were in town. You had actually said something about how you just decided one day you were not going to make excuses anymore? That it seemed like,
Yeah, for sure.
It seemed like every time you got ready to eat something, there was an excuse for why it was okay to do that right now. And can you talk about that a little bit, that progression in your mind?
Yeah. There was, there's always a reason why I could eat this. You hear a lot of people say like, "Oh, I worked out today. I deserve this milkshake, or I deserve a burger." And that's fine. There's actually like fitness groups out there that, they're completely fine with, I work out and I'm going to go eat McDonald's after, because that's just what I like to do. And, that's fine. But working out and exercising for my goal was more to lose weight. And so that making excuses, there's always that excuse of, I could just start this tomorrow, or I had a good workout today, so I could eat a donut, something like that. And just deciding to say no to that is really what made a huge difference. And then from doing it in the kitchen and doing it in my nutrition life made it so much easier in the weight room and on the ball field and outside and in life, because the nutrition part is the hardest part.
Right.
So once I was able to say no in the hardest part, it made everything else easier.
Yeah, it's easy to lift.
So it wasn't just it wasn't just I stopped making excuses about nutrition. It made everything else a lot easier.
That's the truth. We're holistic people. Mm-hmm. And when I know for me personally, when I'm eating well, when I'm really doing well on a nutrition plan, or just I don't like to use the word diet because it seems so temporary. So it's just like your life, your daily life of how you eat and drink. When you're doing well, it encourages you to want to work out harder. It encourages you to want to work out more, to want to develop other aspects and areas of your life. Basically, it encourages you to want to be more disciplined in other areas of your life.
Yeah, make your bed in the morning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And talking about having an excuse for being able to eat bad because you worked out also goes with once you start to see that process, or once you start to see those results from eating well, you want to work harder in the weight room because you're able to, because you feel better because of what you've eaten.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I think Brock's referring to is something called balance. And when you have balance in your life, it makes everything easier, right? That's you may not know what this references, Coach, but if you want to learn how to punch, you got to first have balance, right?
Oh, I know what that references. Yeah. Miyagi-Do. Did you see my shirt that I wore today to church?
I couldn't see the whole thing. Your guitar was covering up the picture that I saw.
You want to take a guess what it was?
Was it Biz's?
Oh no, Biz still hasn't sent me anything.
That was my guess.
Ganguli Martial Arts.
I see the top half.
It would look a lot like it. Yeah, strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Cobra Kai.
Okay. Yeah, I've yet to get around to watching that. Mom said I need to go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you'll love it. Cool.
I think one of the most important things Brock says there, and I don't know that he used the word, but it's purpose and understanding. And this is the tough thing to grasp, understanding that you can eat for pleasure, but you're not always eating for pleasure. As a matter of fact, we're not made to eat for pleasure, right? We're made to eat to live, to fuel our bodies, like you said, Coach. And it's important to understand the difference. It's hard, it's not always fun, but neither is, failing your fifth set of squats because you added weight to the squat rack, right?
Right.
So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks a lot for coming on and talking to us here.
Thanks, Brock. Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, I'll say this before we hang up with him. They've been playing at Alderson Broadus every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Pat had mentioned before you came on that you had a nice bases clearing double, 3 runners on, and your team was down, I think, right? 1-0, and you put them up 3-1 at that point. But yesterday, we went over yesterday, Pat, April and I did, and the family to watch, and he got drilled. So he was catching. He got drilled by a foul ball that I actually thought was a cup shot. I thought it hit you between the legs because you doubled over and you were down for about a good 45 seconds or so, and it hit you in the top of the thigh where there's obviously no padding, and then you got hit by pitch. Was it in the same spot?
Yeah, it was about 2 inches away from that spot.
So, hit by pitch, and then your last at bat, it was a lefty throwing. It was probably a slider because this often happens. You swung and you fouled it off your own calf, and that's the one that really kind of put you out today, isn't it? You had to sit out today, right?
Yeah, it was tough to put some weight on that today, so I had to rest a little bit.
Yeah.
No need to push it in the fall.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you had it X-rayed and it's not broken, right? You good?
No X-ray, but we had the trainer look at it, and they ruled out the broken.
Oh, good. Just bad contusion.
Yep,
So,
yeah, just beat up.
Were you filming on any of those, Coach?
Well, every time I pull my camera out to film, I was filming. He walks, or he gets hit by pitch.
How he gets hit.
Yeah. Yeah. So my strategy is if AB ever needs a base runner, like late in the late innings, and Brock's coming up, I'm just going to pull out my phone to film because he either walks or gets hit by pitch. I can't ever get anything like the ball that we saw him hit. You were over there with me. I thought I even asked. I thought, should I film this? Right? Bases were loaded. Great opportunity. Nah, don't film. Yeah, he hits a gap shot to right center off the fence, and they score 3 runs. So we're just not meant to have any good film of you in college hitting the baseball. So
you don't need it.
Baseball's a funny game.
It is a funny game. So, well, buddy, thanks for talking to us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Have a good night.
Thanks, Brock.
Yeah, you too.
So
makes it sound easy.
Yeah, it's definitely not, and he knows it's not. And I'm really proud of the fact that he's definitely matured in that area. I think there are 2 aspects to this. One is what we know, and the other is what we don't know.
Yeah.
Because most of us know when we're not doing well with this, with our diets, with our nutrition. I think most of us really know. But there are some things that we don't know. Like, for example, how many people, I wonder, put Gatorades in their kids' lunch boxes every day?
Right.
We did. When our kids were young, I confess, we did that a lot. There were those little bottles, right? And every time we give our kids a Gatorade or a Powerade in their lunchbox, or even vitamin water, we're giving them 21 grams of sugar, over 300 calories in a little drink, with a ton of sodium, and this chemical called high fructose corn syrup, which is absolutely horrible for us because it shuts down. It's an appetite suppressant. It shuts down your body's ability to recognize when you're full, which means you don't feel as full as you normally would. If you just ate regular sugar, you'd stop earlier. That's like the old days. Do you realize this? Have you thought about this, Pat? In the old days, like 1970s, Pop.
Oh yeah,
Pop.
Real old days.
Yeah, Pop had sugar in it, right?
Yeah.
It was just sugar, cane sugar, whatever. And so you wouldn't see people just going and buying a 2-liter of Pop and drinking it. I mean, the McDonald's.
No, you don't eat ice cream cones every day, right?
Yeah, exactly right. The McDonald's small today was large in 1978.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a larger cup than that at McDonald's back then, believe it or not. But today it's this big gulp, and the reason why that is because we are capable of drinking a lot more of this high fructose corn syrup. And that has attributed to so much obesity and so much unhealth. I mean, just poor health among everyone, especially athletes. But that chemical is in our sports drinks, our quote unquote sports drinks. Yeah. And I don't think people sometimes realize that Gatorade is not a good drink. It's not. If you're out there and you're busting your butt and you're sweating like crazy, yeah, have a Gatorade. I mean, it'll help. It'll help. You know, you can get some quick carbs, right, and some electrolytes. But honestly, the best thing that you can do is water. Drink water. Drink water. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like that's something that people know, though, right? I mean,
well, you can read the label. Yeah, you would think they would know it, but I think it's marketed as a healthy drink, though, right?
Well, sure, but if I still would say, if you ask somebody, hey, what's better for you, Gatorade or water?
Well, yeah.
Most people are going to tell you water.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, we should give people more credit.
I think, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know, it's, and that's a good point too, Coach. That you know, it's kind of part of our society. It's part of our everyday lives. It's what we see. It's what we, you know, to confess, it's what we do. Most of us. And you know, like we kind of opened the show with, you have to make a commitment, and that commitment isn't easy. It's difficult. Yeah. But if you're, you know, the answer is pretty simple. Well, what's something I can do to make me a better basketball player? What's something I can do, you know, to make me a better, you know, cross country runner? Something that you can do is start paying attention to your nutrition, and all, you know, definitely also your sleep time, and like Brock says, he makes a great point on keeping a schedule. A schedule is very important, and that's through the weekend as well. You know, you can read studies and listen to a lot smarter people than me or on this, that you know it's important to wake up at the same time every day. It's you know, that's what's better for you. So it's things like that out there that, you know, it's an opportunity that you can take to make yourself better. And if you've committed yourself to strength training, you want to get the most out of that strength training, you definitely need to pay attention to your nutrition, because that's you know, it's like the second level, you know, we've talked about before. And I can't remember, is it Ripto that says the you know, your talent, your skill, you know, shooting a basketball, fielding a baseball is like the water in a bucket, and your strength and conditioning is like, you know, the bucket that the water drips in. Nutrition is just that bigger bucket. So the you know, the bigger your nutrition. What's that?
Is that Zach Detkent?
I don't think that's Zach Detkent.
Oh, okay.
It could be.
Sorry about that.
But you know, I thought Ripto said it, but maybe not. We'll have to look that up and credit to the right person.
Right.
You know, the better your nutrition, the better your overall health, and the way to make your overall health better, two very quick ways, is your nutrition and your sleep. The easier it is to go stronger, and the more athletic, and the more stronger and athletic you are, the easier it is to field that ground ball, or the easier it is to hit the triple, you know, down the line, or in Brock's case, hit the double off the fence. So it's not, you know, it's not fun. You know, it's not something that probably a lot of high school athletes want to hear that's not already committed to it, but it's reality. And it's something that, you know, hey, if a college coach comes to you and asks you, hey, what are you doing to get better? And your response is, well, I really, you know, first thing I do is really pay attention to my nutrition, pay attention to what I'm putting in my body. Immediately, he's going to understand that he has an individual that is disciplined, that is committed to getting better, obviously, and someone that I would say he could probably count on, or she could count on, to be a big part of the program.
No doubt. Yeah. They'll perk up. You'll get their attention. There's no doubt.
Because it does take discipline, right?
It is. It is exactly right. It takes discipline, and it is, as Eric Cressy says, it is the biggest magnifier of your skills development and your strength development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd say most people would say, well, it's hard. I don't know when to get started. Like Rock said, you always have excuses. You know, I would challenge everyone out there, if you're even if you're lukewarm about the idea, take Monday of your week and say, okay, on Monday, I'm going to eat healthy. Every Monday that comes, I'm going to eat healthy, and get that Monday down, and then move on to Tuesday or, you know, Wednesday or whatever it is. Take a day at a time. if it's going to make it difficult on you to start something, but definitely something you can focus on for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. One of the other problems I think that we have in beginning to develop poor habits in the areas of nutrition is sports sometimes are, you would think, I think sports work against us sometimes. You would think that sports would be, kids who play sports and families who are involved in sports would be the reason why they eat better. But I almost think that youth sports creates more disordered eating for this reason.
Yeah.
The time.
Yeah.
Because you think, let's think about it this way. Youth sports venues. So youth sports venues, you spend all day at the park. What's your option? Concession stand. What's being sold in the concession stand? Okay.
High fructose.
There's high fructose corn syrup. Yeah. Sometimes, depending on the concession stand, your option is a hot dog, a piece of pizza, maybe a nachos in a bag, or what do they call it, taco in a bag. And unless you're down there at your all's concession stand, I can smell deep fried food in there. I had your boy Jake get me a couple bottles of water last weekend, and I took the cap off and took a drink of that, and it smelled like deep fried French fries.
Hey, man.
What are they making in there?
You got to do it right. Bring the people in. You got to do it right.
So your fans are eating that stuff, but then the kids, when they're done playing, what do? Mom, Dad, I'm hungry. All right, here's some money. Here's a couple bucks. Go to the concession stand, get yourself something.
Or you're going to a fast food restaurant.
Yeah, yep. That's the other option.
A lot of time between.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you're a travel team, you're out. Right. And you're done. You had a big day of playing ball. What do? Go out to eat. Where do you go? Well, you go to Max and Irma's, or you go to Dave and Buster's, or you go to some place like that where you just don't have great options, and honestly, quite frankly, you probably don't care about the great options at that time.
Sure.
And
tired, hungry.
Yep. And you're basically making the excuses again. And it's the weird people who don't do that.
You're right. It is.
So, folks, here's the moral of the story. Be weird.
Absolutely.
Be the weird person. In this respect,
out.
Be the weird person. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. I'd like to get, it'd be nice to have Joe on and just ask him kind of, about some of the conversations he's had with his friends growing up about some of the decisions that he was making as an athlete.
You're talking about Burrow, yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, those would be questions. Yeah, that would be good. It'd be questions he probably doesn't get anymore.
Yeah, it's a good point.
He does a lot of interviews, and that would be an interview question that probably would be an unusual one. So yeah, we will do our best. I mean, it's a little late now. We had the opportunity. We should have got him on when we had the opportunity. The first 18 years of his life. But
that's all right.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I'd be remiss to not bring this up before we close out this topic today.
Okay.
And if it might cause us to make this episode a little longer, but it's something that I just can't wrap my brain around, but I see it a lot today. Energy drinks.
Yeah.
Energy drinks being consumed by athletes. I don't get that. I don't understand that. I don't.
Well, you do. You do get it, and you get it because it's very relevant to the conversation we're having right now. They're taking those energy drinks. Well, that's not.
I mean, what's the point? What's the reason for it? Like a kid walks up and he's got a Bang in his hand or a Monster, right? What's he hoping to get out of that?
I think
quick
some
rush of
people like the
caffeine.
Taste. That gives them a kick, but at the same time, I think a lot of people are, they're trying to compensate for a lack of something else, and I would say a lack of that would be a good sleep schedule, good sleeping habits.
Yeah.
But I would say a lot of people drink those, and I have a couple friends that I know aren't drinking them necessarily to have energy. They drink them because they like the taste, and it's become a habit that if they don't drink that, then they don't have energy.
Well, because there's a drug in it. I mean, caffeine works like a drug, and
yeah, it sure does.
And those they kind of tout themselves like they're like, it's like these companies that make these are proud to say that they have more caffeine in their drinks than any other drink, you know.
Well, that's how you know how good it is,
And
right? That's
well,
how you know how effective,
apparently, yeah. But you know what they're not telling you is, hey, our can is better at increasing your blood pressure. It's better at increasing your anxiety and causing your eyelids to shake. And it's better at elevating your heart rate and increasing your urine production and increasing your dehydration possibility. And our product is absolutely unsafe for you to be consuming before an athletic event.
Right.
I mean, there should be a warning label. Well, there is actually on some of them, isn't there? I think there is a warning label on some of them. They have to have a warning label on some of them.
I'll be honest with you. This is one of the, I guess I should be proud about this, but I make enough, I have enough health faults that I can't really be proud about anything. I don't drink energy drinks.
Oh, neither do I. I drink coffee. So I guess
I don't drink coffee.
So I guess that counts, but there are a little more healthy benefits to coffee than 5-hour energy and Bang and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. That's rough. I would challenge athletes, you know, really I would challenge anybody, you know, if you are drinking those things, why do you drink them? Do you drink them? Do you really like the taste of them? Because there's things out there that taste better than that.
Here's the problem with that. Don't just drink something because you like the taste of it. I mean, did you hear what Brock said?
Yeah,
right.
Right.
Just
what's the purpose?
Just stop drinking stuff and eating stuff because of pleasure.
Sure.
Think about the kind of fuel you're putting in your body.
You know, you sound so smart when you say that, Coach, and
you do sound smart.
It's almost like, you know, there's all kinds of science built behind that, and that idea of not eating for pleasure. It's odd that we just figured that out in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That idea's been around for a while, hasn't it?
It's been around for a while. It has. It's so hard to get to stick in people.
Yeah. I think purpose is a huge a word for this conversation. And, you know, for the people listening out there, the athletes, you know, when you sit down to eat, think about the purpose of that meal. And, you know, it's obviously a personal choice. You know, we like to talk about things that we feel like is going to make you better and you know, or, you know, specifically make us better as people and as athletes and as the types of people that we want to be or types of roles that we play. And you really can't debate it. It's definitely true. It's something that if you know, it's there. It's something that you can use to make yourself better.
Yeah.
Just, again, like you said, you got to be the odd. You got to be some of the odd folks to pull it off, right?
Yeah, you do. You do. You know, and I would say one of the points that Brock made, one of the statements that he made that I wrote down here as we're talking is he said coaches don't talk about it.
Yes.
And I would say as a word to coaches out there, because we know that, you know, a good portion of our listeners are people who coach, aspire to coach, whether they're coaching their own kids or coaching high school or any other level. We got to figure out a way to make this part of our program. You got to figure out a way to make this part of your vision as a coach, how to help your kids. If your goal is to help them be the best they can be, then we can't overlook this anymore.
Yep.
We have to help them with their nutrition.
Good point. Yeah, that was a great point by Bra. Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here, right? That's why we have these conversations. What can we add? What can we add to our practices? What can we add to the way that we develop our athletes into better athletes? And these are the types of things that, you know, that we talk about all the time as far as sports in general. What's the value, you know, of sports? There's a lot of value in sports. It's not just the love of the game and the experience of the game. It's, you know, it falls over into life in all sorts of different ways. And if you're a coach that can teach 12, 14 kids a season to be healthier, man, you're doing it right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Those are huge wins.
Yeah.
Those are life impacting wins.
Yes, you are impacting them for life, not just for that season. Yeah.
That's good stuff. That's convicting stuff.
Yeah.
But it's good stuff.
It is. Well, I got to say this before we sign off here, Pat, and to all of those out there, I'm very proud of my partner here, Pat, because we've just talked for over an hour, and not one time has he mentioned to me the absolute beatdown that his Cleveland Browns gave to the Dallas Cowboys today. A team that I grew up absolutely loving and adoring all my life. They finally met up this week, and the Browns took it to them.
I'm gonna give a secret to all the people out there. So all 6 people that are gonna listen to this episode, you're gonna have a secret about Pat Martin when it comes to the Browns. I'm a big talker before the game, but I don't say much after. and that
well, you've never had much reason to. You've never had much reason to, but you get 6, you get 3 more wins. You're 3-1 right now. Your boy's sitting there at 6-1. You might start chirping a little bit more after the game.
No, I really, maybe it's shock, but one, they didn't get pounded. The Cowboys were in that game up until
they got pounded. They got pounded, but they allowed Dallas to come back in to get back in it. Yeah,
true. But that's NFL defenses for you, I think.
Yeah.
But it was a fun day. The worst thing about today was we got rained out this evening in our 14U game. So, yeah. But that gave us some time to record here too.
Yep. Good stuff, man.
Yep. Good talking to you, Coach.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Right on.